Kyungmin Park walked through the long hallway of Nexus Prime Station. His black diplomatic suit was perfect, not a wrinkle anywhere, but his face showed anger that he tried to hide. Behind him, Bo-Ra Kim followed quietly. She wore her military uniform and watched everything around them with careful eyes. The hallway was huge, with walls made of strange alien metal that changed colors. Hundreds of different alien species walked past them. Some had many arms, others had scales or fur. A few floated in the air without touching the ground. But none of them looked at the two humans with respect. Ambassador Park, one of the hegemony, guard said as they reached the great doors. The guard was tall and had blue skin like ice. Chancellor Vextar wants to remind you that today's meeting will decide the medical technology issue once and for all. Kyungmin nodded, but said nothing. His hands were tight fists at his sides. For 30 years he had served as Earth's top diplomat. He had made deals, solved problems, and kept peace between humans and aliens. But today felt different. Today felt like an ending. The great doors opened with a sound like thunder. Inside was the council chamber, a round room so big that clouds formed near the ceiling. Thousands of alien representatives sat in rows that went up like a mountain. At the center was a small platform where speakers stood to address the council. As Kyungmin walked to the platform, whispers filled the air. The aliens spoke in hundreds of different languages, but translation devices made their words clear to him. The humans are upset again, one voice said. They think they deserve special treatment. Another added, such a young species should learn patience. A third voice laughed. Kyungmin reached the speaking platform and turned to face the council. Above him, Chancellor Vextar sat on the highest seat. Vextar belonged to the hegemony, the oldest and most powerful alien group in the galaxy. His skin was silver and his eyes glowed with cold light. He had ruled the council for over 200 years. Ambassador Park of Earth? Vextar's voice boomed across the chamber. You have requested this emergency session to discuss the council's decision about human medical technology. Please state your case quickly. We have more important matters to discuss. Kyungmin looked up at the thousands of alien faces staring down at him. Some showed boredom. Others showed annoyance. None showed respect. He thought about all the times humans had helped these species, the medicines they had shared, the technologies they had given freely, the wars they had helped end. Honored Council, Kyungmin began, his voice steady and strong. 3 weeks ago, you voted to take human-developed medical technology and give it to other species without asking us. You took the cure for the Vorthon plague, which human scientists worked for 10 years to create. You took our cancer treatments. You took our genetic repair methods. Yes, Vextar interrupted. These technologies were deemed too important to remain under the control of one species. The council decided they should be shared with more experienced civilizations who can use them better. Angry sounds came from the crowd above, but it was not anger at Vextar's words. It was anger at Kyungmin for questioning the decision. More experienced? Kyungmin asked. We created these technologies. Our scientists worked day and night to solve problems that other species had given up on. And now you take their work and give it away like it means nothing. Consul Threx, a reptilian being from the Confederation, leaned forward. Unlike Vextar, Threx looked worried. Ambassador Park, surely you understand that knowledge belongs to all species. Humans have benefited greatly from technology shared by others. Have we? Kyungmin's voice grew louder. What technology have you shared with us? You gave us translation devices only after we proved we could build better ones ourselves. You let us use your star maps only after we had already explored most of the galaxy on our own. Every step of the way we had to prove ourselves worthy. Because you are young, Vexatar snapped. Your species has existed for mere thousands of years. We have existed for millions. You must learn to follow before you can lead. Bo-Ra Kim moved slightly behind Kyungmin. Her hand rested near her weapon, not in threat but in readiness. She had served in the Human Defense Forces for 20 years. She had fought pirates, stopped smugglers, and protected human colonies. But she had never seen such open disrespect for her species. Kyungmin pulled out a small device from his pocket. It looked like a simple black cube, but Bora knew what it was. Every human diplomat carried one. It was their emergency communication device, connected directly to Earth's government. For 50 years, Kyungmin continued, humans have tried to be good members of this council. We have followed your rules. We have paid our taxes. We have sent our best people to serve in your armies and your research teams. We have shared our discoveries freely. As you should, said another council member, a being that looked like a walking tree. Younger species must contribute to the greater good. But when we ask for the same respect you give each other, what do we get? Kyungmin's voice echoed through the chamber. You call us impatient. You call us greedy. You vote to take our work and give it to others because you think we are not worthy to control what we created. The chamber grew quieter. Some aliens began to look uncomfortable. They had never heard a human speak with such anger before. Kyungmin looked directly at Chancellor Vextar. You made one mistake. You thought we needed you more than you needed us. Are you threatening the council? Vextar asked, his glowing eyes getting brighter. No, Kyungmin said calmly. I am informing the council. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws all diplomatic contact with the Galactic Council. We will no longer send ambassadors to your meetings. We will no longer participate in your votes. We will no longer share our technologies or our discoveries. The chamber exploded with noise. Aliens shouted in anger and surprise. Some jumped to their feet. Others waved their arms or tentacles in the air. You cannot do this, Vextar roared. The council will not allow it. The council, Kyungmin said, raising his voice above the noise, has no power over what humanity chooses to do. Consider this our final communication. He pressed a button on the black cube. Immediately, every human communication device in the galaxy went silent. Every human ship, station, and colony stopped responding to alien signals. The vast network of human technology that connected thousands of worlds went dark to outside users. Bo-Ra. Kim stepped forward and spoke for the first time. Any attempt to contact human territory will be met with automated responses only. We are no longer accepting diplomatic communications from any council species. The two humans turned and walked toward the exit. Behind them, the council chamber was in chaos. Aliens shouted and argued. Some demanded military action. Others called for emergency votes. But Kyungmin and Bo-Ra did not look back. They walked through the great doors and into the hallway. As they walked, alien guards and officials tried to stop them, but the humans ignored them completely. Ambassador Park, someone called. You cannot leave like this. But they kept walking. When they reached their ship, Bo-Ra started the engines while Kyungmin sat in the pilot's seat. Through the window, they could see alien security forces surrounding the landing bay. Are you ready for what comes next? Bo-Ra asked. Kyungmin smiled for the first time in weeks. I have been ready for this day since I became an ambassador. Humanity tried the patient approach. Now let us see how they handle the alternative. Their ship lifted off from Nexus Prime Station and jumped into hyperspace, leaving the Galactic Council behind. In the council chamber, the arguments continued late into the night. None of the aliens realized that this was not just the end of human diplomacy. It was the beginning of the end of the Galactic Council itself. 3 months had passed since the humans cut off all contact. Tae-Ho Lee guided his cargo ship through the Kepler trade route, the same path he had traveled for 15 years. But today, everything felt different. His ship carried food supplies, from the agricultural world of New Sol to the mining colonies in the Outer Rim. It was honest work that paid well. But now, alien ships followed him everywhere, trying to get his attention. Human vessel. This is Confederation ship Brightwing, came a voice through his radio. Please respond to our communication request. Tae-Ho looked at his control panel. His computer showed 17 different alien ships trying to contact him. They had been following him for 3 days. He pressed a button, and his ship's automated response system activated. This is an automated message, the computer said in a flat voice. Humanity is not currently accepting diplomatic communications from Galactic Council species. Please direct all inquiries to your local council representative. The alien ships kept following him, but Tejo ignored them. He had his orders from Earth. No human was to speak directly to any council species. All business would continue, but without personal contact. On the mining station called Deep Rock, young Su Choi watched the alien ships through his office window. As chief engineer, he kept the station running for both human and alien workers. But lately the aliens seemed nervous and scared. Young Su's friend Kil Tar, a lizard-like being from the hegemony, came to his office. They had worked together for 8 years. Before the communication cut off, they had shared meals and told jokes. But now, Kil Tar could only talk to Young Su through official channels. "Engineer Choi," Kil Tar said formally, "I need to report a problem with the life support systems in Section 7. Young Su looked at his computer screen instead of at his friend. "Submit a work order through the automated system. All requests must go through proper channels now." Kil Tar's shoulders dropped. "Young Su, we are friends. Can we not speak as we used to?" Young Su wanted to answer, but he followed his orders. "Please submit your request through the automated system. That is all." After Kil Tar left, Young Su felt sad. He missed talking with his alien co-workers. But Earth's orders were clear. No personal communication with council species. Only business through official systems. Far away, in the command center of the human fleet, Admiral So-Jin Nam watched her screens. Hundreds of alien ships moved through space near human territory. Some were traders trying to do business. Others were military scouts watching human movements. A few were diplomatic ships hoping to start new talks. But all of them got the same treatment. Human ships would let them pass safely, but they would not answer direct communications. Trade happened through automated systems only. Military encounters were handled by computer protocols that gave warnings, but no explanations. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "the hegemony is sending another diplomatic fleet to Earth. 12 ships with full ambassadorial staff." So-Jin Nam looked at the star map on her screen. "Send the standard warning. They may approach Earth's outer system, but they cannot enter our inner defensive zone. If they try to force communication, escort them out politely but firmly." "Yes, ma'am. And if they refuse to leave?" The Admiral's face was hard as stone. "Then they will learn why humans spent the last 50 years building the galaxy's best defensive systems." On the planet Vorthak, Governor Kletch walked through a hospital filled with dying patients. The Vorthan plague was spreading again, and without human medicine, his people were helpless. The cure existed, but it was locked away in human territory. 3 months ago, the Galactic Council had taken the cure from human control and given it to more responsible species. But those species had not been able to make enough medicine for everyone. Now thousands were dying while the cure sat unused in alien laboratories. Governor Kletch tried everything. He sent official requests through the council. He begged human traders who passed through his system. He even tried to buy the medicine illegally from smugglers. Nothing worked. The humans had stopped making the cure available to anyone outside their territory. "Governor," his medical chief said sadly, "we are losing 50 patients per day now. Without human medicine, we cannot stop the plague." "What about the samples the council gave us?" Kletch asked. "We cannot make them work. The human scientists who created the cure are the only ones who truly understand it. The other species the council gave it to are having the same problem." Kletch looked out the window at his dying city. Before the plague, Vorthak had been beautiful, with tall buildings and busy markets. Now, whole districts stood empty. The few people on the streets wore masks and walked quickly, afraid of catching the disease. In another part of the galaxy, Captain Junho Park commanded the human border patrol ship Guardian. His job was to watch the edge of human space and keep track of alien movements. But lately, his job had become much more interesting. "Captain," his sensor officer reported, "we have 37 alien ships gathered at the border. They appear to be preparing for some kind of operation." Junho looked at his screens. The alien ships were from different council species, but they were working together. That was unusual. Council species rarely cooperated on anything. Are they preparing to attack? Junho asked. Unknown, sir. They are staying just outside our territory, but their weapons are powered up. Junho smiled. Let them watch. They will see exactly what they expect to see. What the alien ships did not know was that human space had changed completely in the past 3 months. New defensive systems had been activated. Hidden weapons platforms had been revealed. Ships that looked like simple cargo vessels were actually disguised warships. The humans had spent 50 years preparing for this day. While they smiled and played diplomat, human engineers had built the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. They had shared their medical and agricultural knowledge freely, but they had kept their weapons technology secret. Now, as alien fleets gathered at human borders, they were about to learn just how well-prepared humanity really was. Back on Nexus, Prime Station, the Galactic Council met an emergency session every day. The Great Chamber was no longer filled with confident voices. Instead, worried whispers echoed through the air. Chancellor Vexitar stood at his high seat, but he no longer looked as powerful as before. Dark circles under his eyes showed that he had not been sleeping well. The humans have been silent for 3 months, he announced to the council. Our attempts to re-establish communication have failed. Trade continues, but only through automated systems. Consul Threx raised his hand to speak. Chancellor, the situation is becoming critical. Several worlds are experiencing shortages of goods that humans normally supply. The Vorthan plague is spreading again without their medicine. Then we will find alternatives, Vextar snapped. The galaxy existed for millions of years before humans arrived. We do not need them. But even as he spoke, Vextar knew that was not true. In just 50 years, humans had become essential to galactic trade and technology. Their cargo ships carried goods between worlds that had never traded before. Their agricultural methods fed billions of aliens on worlds that could not grow their own food. Their medical knowledge had saved entire species from diseases that had killed them for thousands of years. Perhaps, suggested another council member, we should consider offering some form of compromise to the humans. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Many aliens shouted that they would never negotiate with such a young species. Others demanded military action to force humans back to the negotiating table. But a few, like Consul Threx, began to realize the truth. The humans had not acted in anger. They had acted with careful planning. For 50 years, while the aliens treated them like children, the humans had been preparing for exactly this situation. As the council argued, human ships continued to move through space. They carried goods and passengers, maintained trade routes, and kept space lanes safe. But they did it all in complete silence. To the aliens who depended on them, it was as if humanity had become a ghost species, present but unreachable. The silence was not punishment, it was strategy. And very soon, the Galactic Council would understand just how effective that strategy could be. 6 months after the silence began, Dr. Hyejin Shin worked in her laboratory on the human colony of New Busan. Through her window, she could see alien ships waiting in orbit. They had been there for weeks, hoping she would agree to help them. Hyejin was the lead researcher who had created the cure for the Vorthan plague. Before the communication cut off, she had shared her work freely with alien scientists. She had taught them her methods and helped them save millions of lives across the galaxy. Now, those same aliens were begging for her help as the plague spread to new worlds. Her assistant Minho Jung entered the laboratory with a worried look on his face. Doctor, another delegation has arrived from the Confederation. They are requesting permission to land and speak with you directly. Hyejin did not look up from her work. She was developing a new treatment for a disease that affected only humans. What is their message? They say the plague has reached the core worlds. Billions are dying. They promise to give full credit to humanity for the cure if you will help them produce it properly. Hyejin finally looked up. Her eyes were sad but determined. Send them the automated response. Humanity is not currently accepting diplomatic communications. But Dr. Minho said quietly, children are dying. Innocent people who had nothing to do with the council's decision. I know. Hyejin whispered. Do you think this is easy for me? I became a doctor to save lives, not to watch people die. But sometimes, short-term pain prevents long-term suffering. She walked to her window and looked at the alien ships. For years, we gave them everything. Our medicine, our food, our technology, our knowledge. And how did they repay us? By saying we were too young and stupid to control what we created. Minho nodded. He understood. But it still hurt to turn away people who needed help. At the edge of human space, Captain Junho Park watched his sensors with growing concern. The alien fleet outside human territory had grown from 30 ships to over 300. They were from every major council species, working together in a way he had never seen before. Captain, his tactical officer reported. They are forming attack formations. It looks like they are preparing to cross the border. Junho opened a communication channel to Human Fleet Command. Admiral Nam, this is Guardian. The aliens are getting ready to make their move. Admiral Sojin Nam's voice came back immediately. Are you ready, Captain? Yes, ma'am. All defensive systems are active, but there are a lot of them. Remember, Junho, we are not trying to win a war. We are trying to teach a lesson. The alien fleet began to move. Leading them was General Quintal, a warrior from the hegemony who believed that humans needed to be forced back to the negotiating table. His flagship was a massive battle cruiser with enough firepower to destroy a planet. All ships maintain formation, Quintal ordered. We will enter human space and demand to speak with their leaders. If they refuse, we will take control of one of their border stations. As the alien fleet crossed into human territory, alarms began sounding on every human ship and station in the area. But instead of panic, there was calm efficiency. This was what they had prepared for. Captain Junho Park's small patrol ship was directly in the path of the alien fleet. To the aliens, it looked like one tiny vessel against hundreds of warships, but Junho was not worried. This is Captain Junho Park of the Human Border Patrol. He broadcast on all frequencies. You have entered human space without permission. Please turn back immediately. General Quintal laughed. Human Captain, you are outnumbered 300 to 1. Stand aside and we will not harm you. I repeat, Junho said calmly. Please turn back immediately. Enough of this, Quintal snarled. All ships target that patrol vessel. One warning shot will show them we are serious. 50 alien ships fired their weapons at Junho's ship, but instead of hitting their target, the energy beam struck an invisible barrier and scattered harmlessly into space. What? Quintal shouted. How is that possible? Junho smiled. General Quintal, you are about to learn why humans spent the last 50 years being very quiet about our defensive capabilities. Suddenly, space around the alien fleet came alive with activity. What had looked like empty space was revealed to be filled with cloaked human ships. Hundreds of vessels appeared as their stealth systems shut down. Some were warships, others were defensive platforms that had been hidden in asteroids. But the biggest surprise was Junho's own ship. What looked like a simple patrol vessel suddenly unfolded like a flower, revealing weapons and defensive systems that were far more advanced than anything the aliens had seen. This is impossible, Quintal whispered. Our intelligence said humans had only basic military technology. Your intelligence, Junho replied, was exactly what we wanted you to believe. The alien fleet found itself surrounded by human ships that were smaller in number but far more advanced. Human weapons could fire faster and more accurately. Human shields were stronger and more efficient. Human ships could move in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. All alien vessels, Admiral Sojin Nam's voice boomed across space. You have 30 seconds to leave human territory. This is your only warning. General Quintal looked at his tactical displays. His fleet had been completely outmaneuvered. The humans had not just built better technology, they had revolutionized warfare itself. Retreat, he ordered quietly. All ships withdraw immediately. As the alien fleet fled, Junho opened a channel to Admiral Nam. Should we pursue them? No, the Admiral replied. Let them go. They have learned what they came to learn. News of the failed military action spread quickly through the galaxy. The story grew with each telling. Some said the humans had made the alien fleet disappear with invisible weapons. Others claimed human ships could teleport instantly across space. The truth was simpler but more frightening. While the galaxy had dismissed humans as a young species with basic technology, humanity had been secretly developing the most advanced military systems ever created. On Nexus Prime Station, Chancellor E. Vextar received the report of General Quintal's defeat with growing horror. The human military was not just stronger than expected, it was decades ahead of anything the Council possessed. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our spies said they had primitive weapons." Consul Threx, who had opposed the military action from the beginning, stood up slowly. "Chancellor, I think we have made a terrible mistake. We assumed that because humans shared their peaceful technology freely, they had no military secrets. We were wrong." For the first time in 200 years, Chancellor Vextar felt afraid. "What do you suggest?" "I suggest," Threx said carefully, "that we consider the possibility that humans are far more intelligent and far-sighted than we believed. They may have been preparing for this conflict since the day they joined the Council." Across the galaxy, the effects of human silence continued to spread. Worlds that depended on human agricultural technology faced famine. Systems that relied on human-maintained jump gates found their trade routes failing. Colonies that had grown comfortable with human medical support watched diseases return that had been eliminated for decades. But the worst part was not the practical problems. It was the psychological effect. For 50 years, humans had been the helpful neighbors who fixed problems and shared solutions. Their sudden silence created a feeling of abandonment and fear. Minister A. Rayun, who had once served as the human liaison to the Council, sat in her empty office. For years, she had been one of the most important people on Nexus Prime Station, translating between human and alien cultures. Now her job no longer existed. "They were planning this all along," she said to her assistant. "Every technology they shared, every favor they did, every diplomatic compromise they made, it was all preparation for this moment." Her assistant looked confused. "I do not understand." Ara looked out the window at the busy station. "They made themselves essential to galactic civilization, not through force or threats but through helpfulness. And now that they are gone, we realize how much we need them." As the 6th month of silence ended, one thing became clear to every species in the galaxy. The humans had not acted in anger or desperation. They had acted according to a plan that was far more sophisticated than anyone had imagined. The question now was not whether the humans would return to the Council. The question was whether the Council would still exist when they decided what to do next. 1 year had passed since the Great Silence began. President Mi-Young Kang stood in her office on Earth, looking at reports from across the galaxy. The numbers told a story that even she had not fully expected. "Show me the trade statistics again," she said to her aide. The holographic display showed shipping routes throughout the galaxy. Red lines indicated routes that had failed or become too dangerous to use. Blue lines showed new routes that had opened in the past year. Most of the blue lines connected human space to worlds that had never been part of the Galactic Council. "Ma'am," her aide said, 17 Council species have secretly sent diplomatic messages asking for separate peace talks. They are willing to leave the Council if it means restoring relations with humanity." Mi-Young nodded. This was exactly what her planners had predicted. What about the others? The hegemony and their closest allies are still refusing to negotiate, but their member worlds are beginning to rebel. Food shortages and medical crises are causing riots on over 50 planets. Mi-Young walked to her window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, human ships were building a new kind of galactic civilization, one based on mutual respect, instead of ancient hierarchies. "Contact Ambassador Donghyun Lim," she ordered. "Tell him it is time to announce the Independent Systems Alliance officially." Far from Earth, on a space station at the edge of explored space, Ambassador Donghyun Lim prepared for the most important speech of his career. The station was called Hope's End, and it had been built in secret over the past 2 years. Today, it would become the capital of a new galactic government. The main conference room was filled with representatives from over 100 different species. But these were not the ancient, powerful civilizations that dominated the Galactic Council. These were smaller species, younger civilizations, and rebel groups from council worlds who had grown tired of being ignored. Dong-hyun looked at the crowd before him. Many of these beings had never been allowed to speak in the council chambers. Their worlds were considered too small, too poor, or too primitive to matter. But humanity had seen potential where others saw weakness. "Friends," Dong-hyun began, "for too long, the galaxy has been ruled by the few who claimed the right to make decisions for the many. Today, we change that forever." The room erupted in cheers and applause. Species that had been enemies for centuries stood together, united by their shared desire for equality. "I am pleased to announce the formation of the Independent Systems Alliance," Dong-hyun continued, "a federation of free worlds where every species has an equal voice, regardless of age or size." In the back of the room, Commander Han Il-sung watched the crowd carefully. As head of human intelligence operations, she had spent the past year gathering information about council activities. What she had learned was both encouraging and dangerous. After the ceremony, Han-il met with Dong-hyun in private. "Ambassador," she said, "my sources inside council territory report that Chancellor Vextar is planning something desperate. He has been meeting with military leaders from the most extreme hegemony factions." Dong-hyun frowned. "What kind of plan?" "We believe he intends to attack Earth directly, not with a fleet but with a single ship carrying a planet-killer weapon. He thinks that if he destroys our homeworld, other human colonies will surrender." "Does he have such a weapon?" Han-il nodded grimly. "The hegemony has been working on it in secret for decades. They call it the Starbreaker. It can cause a sun to go supernova, destroying an entire solar system." Dong-hyun felt cold despite the warm air in the room. "How long do we have?" "Our intelligence suggests they will move within the next month." "But Ambassador, there is something else. Something that changes everything." She handed him a data pad with classified information. As Dong-hyun read, his eyes grew wide. "Are you certain about this?" he asked. "Yes, sir, we have confirmed it through multiple sources. The humans are not the only species that has been hiding their true capabilities." Back in council space, Chancellor Vextar sat in his private chambers, staring at a holographic display of Earth. For 1 year, he had watched his empire crumble. Species after species had left the council or stopped following orders. Trade routes had collapsed. Entire sectors had declared independence, all because of one small, young species that refused to know its place. "Advisor Krell," he called to his aide. "Is the Starbreaker ready for deployment?" The advisor, a thin being with gray skin and large black eyes, nodded nervously. "Yes, Chancellor. But sir, using such a weapon against a populated world will unite every species in the galaxy. Against us, even our allies will turn away from such destruction." Vextar's silver skin glowed with anger. "Our allies have already abandoned us. Half the hegemony worlds have declared neutrality. Our oldest supporters are secretly negotiating with the humans. We have nothing left to lose." "But Chancellor, the humans have shown incredible military capability. What if they can defend against the Starbreaker?" "Impossible," Vextar snapped. "No species has ever developed defenses against solar manipulation technology. The humans may have advanced ships and weapons, but they cannot stop their sun from exploding." What Vextar did not know was that human scientists had been studying solar engineering for decades. While other species focused on building bigger weapons, humans had learned to control the forces that powered stars themselves. Dr. Kyung-Soo Park, brother of the former ambassador, worked in a secret laboratory deep under Earth's surface. His team had been developing solar defense systems since humanity first learned that such weapons existed. "Doctor," his assistant said, "our space monitors have detected unusual energy signatures in the hegemony fleet. It matches the theoretical profile of the Starbreaker weapon." Kyung-Soo looked at his screens. "How long until they can deploy it?" "Based on their current position and speed, approximately 3 weeks. Then we need to move faster than planned. Contact President Kang immediately." Tell her it is time to reveal Project Soul Shield. Meanwhile, on dozens of council worlds, civil war was breaking out. Species that had been ruled by the hegemony for thousands of years were finally rebelling. They had seen what humans accomplished through cooperation and equal treatment, and they wanted the same for themselves. On the planet Cathara, Governor Zaleth watched his people tear down statues of hegemony leaders. For centuries, his species had been forced to mine rare minerals for the council, while living in poverty themselves. But human agricultural technology had allowed them to grow food on their previously barren world, and human medical knowledge had cured diseases that had plagued them for generations. "Governor," his aide reported, "we have received an official invitation to join the Independent Systems Alliance." Zleth smiled. "Send our acceptance immediately and begin preparations to expel all hegemony officials from our world." Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. The Council's power was not being destroyed by military force, but by the simple realization that there was a better alternative. As news of the Alliance spread, more and more species began to abandon the Council. Some joined the new Federation immediately. Others declared independence and waited to see what would happen next. Chancellor Vextar watched his empire collapse from his command center on Nexus Prime Station. Around him, advisors and military officers argued about what to do next. But Vextar had already made his decision. "Prepare the Starbreaker for immediate deployment," he ordered. "If we cannot rule the galaxy, then we will make sure the humans cannot rule it either." "Sir," his military commander protested, "this action will be seen as genocide. Every species in the galaxy will declare war on us." "Every species already has," Vextar replied coldly. "At least this way, we will be remembered as the civilization that refused to bow to inferiors." As the Starbreaker began its journey toward Earth, neither Vextar nor his followers realized that they were walking into a trap that had been set by the most patient and intelligent species the galaxy had ever known. The humans had spent 50 years preparing for this exact moment, and very soon, the universe would see just how thoroughly they had prepared for every possible threat, including the one now heading toward their home world. 18 months after the Great Silence began, Secretary General Inho Quan stood before the largest gathering of species in galactic history. The conference hall on Hope's End Station had been expanded 3 times to hold all the delegates. Over 400 different civilizations had come to witness the birth of a new age. But Inho's mind was not on the ceremony. 3 days ago, human sensors had detected the Starbreaker weapon entering the Sol system. Chancellor Vextar's desperate gamble to destroy Earth was about to meet humanity's ultimate defense. "Director O," Inho whispered to his aide, "is Sol Shield ready?" Jaewook O, the brilliant engineer who had designed humanity's solar defense system, nodded confidently. "All systems are active, sir. The hegemony weapon will not succeed." Inho took a deep breath and stepped up to the podium. The great hall fell silent as hundreds of species waited to hear him speak. "Delegates of the free worlds," he began. 18 months ago, humanity made a difficult decision. We chose to withdraw from a system that treated us as children rather than equals. Today we gather to create something better. On Earth, President Mi Young Kang watched the ceremony through her office screens while monitoring the approaching threat. Her Defense Minister, General Sung Ho Kim, stood beside her with updates from the solar defense grid. "Ma'am," the general reported, "the Starbreaker has reached the outer system. It is beginning its approach to our sun." Mi Young nodded calmly. "And our defenses?" "All Sol Shield satellites are in position. The solar engineering team reports that they are ready to counteract any attempt at stellar manipulation." What Chancellor Vextar did not know was that humans had been secretly studying their own sun for decades. They had learned to control solar flares, redirect solar wind, and even alter the nuclear processes in the star's core. The technology that was meant to destroy Earth would instead demonstrate humanity's mastery over the forces of nature itself. Back at the conference, Inho continued his speech as news of the hegemony attack spread through the crowd. "We gather, today not in anger, but in hope," he said. "The old ways of thinking about civilization have failed. The idea that older species automatically deserve more respect than younger ones has brought nothing but conflict and suffering. In the audience, former council species sat next to civilizations that had never been allowed to participate in galactic government. The Vrex, a species of crystal beings who communicated through light patterns, sat beside the Mokari, a race of aquatic creatures in mobile water tanks. Neither had ever been considered important enough for the old council. Admiral Subin Jang, now fleet commander of the Alliance Defense Force, received real-time updates from the Sol system through her neural implant. She watched as the Starbreaker approached Earth's sun, its weapons charging for the attack that would cause the star to explode. All ships, she ordered the Alliance fleet, prepare to witness human solar engineering capabilities. The Starbreaker fired its weapon directly into the sun's core. For a moment, the star flickered as its nuclear processes began to destabilize. If the weapon worked as designed, the sun would go supernova within minutes, destroying Earth and every human colony in the system. But instead of exploding, the sun began to pulse with controlled energy. The Sol Shield satellites, hidden in solar orbit for the past 5 years, activated their stellar manipulation beams. They absorbed the destabilizing energy from the hegemony weapon and redirected it harmlessly into space. More than that, the human engineers used the enemy weapon's own power to demonstrate their mastery. They caused the sun to flare in perfect, geometric patterns, creating a light show visible across the galaxy. The message was clear. Humans did not just defend against stellar weapons, they could control stars themselves. On Nexus Prime Station, Chancellor Vextar watched his ultimate weapon fail completely. Worse, the humans had turned his attack into a demonstration of their own superior technology. "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" His science advisor, who had been studying the human display, turned to him with fear in her eyes. "Chancellor, they are not just controlling our weapon. They are controlling the star itself. This level of solar engineering is theoretically impossible." "Nothing is impossible," Vextar roared. "They are just a young species." "No," the advisor said quietly. "I do not think they are." She brought up historical data on her screen. "Chancellor, I have been reviewing everything we know about human development. Their technological progress has been too fast, too consistent. No species develops this quickly naturally." Vextar stared at the data. "What are you saying?" "I believe the humans have been guided. Either they have access to knowledge from a much older civilization, or—" She paused, afraid to voice her suspicion. "Or what?" "Or they are not as young as they claim to be. Sir, what if humanity is actually an ancient species that has been pretending to be primitive? What if everything we thought we knew about them was part of a long-term plan?" At the Alliance conference, Inho smiled as reports of the failed attack reached him. The timing was perfect. As the old council's desperate violence failed, the new alliance was being born. "Today," he announced to the gathered delegates, "we create the Galactic Confederation of Equal Systems, a government where species are judged not by their age or size, but by their contributions to peace and prosperity." The hall erupted in cheers. Species that had been ignored for millennia celebrated alongside civilizations that had only recently achieved spaceflight. For the first time in galactic history, true democracy was being born. Fleet Admiral Subin Jang appeared on the conference screens with an update from the Sol system. "The hegemony attack has failed completely. Earth is safe, and our solar engineering demonstration has been transmitted throughout the galaxy." The cheers grew even louder. The delegates now knew that humanity possessed the ultimate defensive technology. No weapon in the galaxy could threaten worlds protected by human solar engineering. As the conference continued, reports came in from across former council territory. On world after world, hegemony officials were being expelled by their own people. The failure of the Starbreaker had broken the last of the old government's authority. On Vorthak, Governor Kletch announced his world's immediate application to join the alliance. The Vorthan Plague, which had returned during the Year of Silence, was finally being treated again as human medical teams returned to help. On Cathera, Governor Zleth declared his species' complete independence from hegemony rule. Mining operations that had enriched the Council for centuries would now benefit the miners themselves. Similar declarations came from hundreds of worlds. The old galaxy was dying, and a new one was being born. Chancellor Vextar sat alone in his chambers as Nexus Prime Station emptied around him. His advisors had fled. His military commanders had surrendered. Even his own bodyguards had abandoned him. A message appeared on his communication screen. It was from Secretary General In-Ho Quan. Chancellor Vextar, the message began, "The Galactic Confederation offers amnesty to all former council officials who wish to participate in the new government as equals. You and your people are welcome to join us in building a better future." Vextar stared at the message for a long time. Even after trying to destroy their home world, the humans were offering forgiveness and cooperation. For the first time in 200 years, the proud chancellor began to understand humility. 5 years later, the Galactic Confederation of Equal Systems had grown to include over 1,000 species. The old council chambers had been converted into a museum, with displays showing the mistakes of the past and the lessons learned. Kyungmin Park, the former ambassador whose angry words had started the Great Change, now served as Secretary of Interspecies Relations. He often gave tours to young beings from across the galaxy, teaching them about the importance of respect and equality. The old council failed, he would tell his visitors, because it confused age with wisdom and size with strength. The Confederation succeeds because we understand that every species, no matter how young or small, has something valuable to contribute. Standing in the old chambers looking at the plaque that read, "Here stood the last remnant of galactic imperialism. Never again," Kyungmin reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through force. They had transformed it through patience, planning, and the simple revolutionary idea that all intelligent beings deserved equal respect. The humans had indeed been young when they joined galactic civilization, but they had learned quickly, planned carefully, and executed perfectly. Most importantly, they had never forgotten that true strength came not from dominating others, but from helping them achieve their own potential. As the museum tour ended, and young beings from hundreds of worlds walked away with new understanding, Kyungmin smiled. The future belonged to all of them together, and that future looked brighter than any single species could have imagined alone. The galaxy had learned to listen, and in listening it had finally learned to grow.